and I am excited to be here with you tonight. Hey, Emil, how are you?
Hi, Wendy. Hey, y'all. Happy Tuesday. We missed y'all.
Yes.
Deepest apologies. My life got a little crazy and I needed some time. Um,
Mm.
I still need some more time, but that is in God's time, so it's all good. How you doing, Wendy?
Listen, I am over here. I'm struggling.
Absolutely.
I am over here struggling a little bit. Okay, so number one, don't fall for the March okie doke. Anybody else, they call it March Madness for a reason. You know why they call it March Madness? Because you're already in all kinds of emotional woes because of basketball. So, your favorite basketball team, you go from 16 to the Elite Eight, and then you get down to four. My beloved Pebblebrook High School was in that Elite 16. They made it to the eight, and then we went up against Milton and just couldn't shake them off. And then Milton went on and won the state championship for 7A. So shout out to them for that, kind of. But so then March Madness. Oh, everybody, it's March. It's about to be spring. No, do not fall for the okie doke.
Why? Because what happened?
Because people think it's gonna be warm. You start pulling out shorts and short sleeve shirts. You're just like, oh, it's about to be on. And what? It is not on and popping. It's on and raining. It is cold outside. That's why our sister has her sweater game together today because it was cold.
Sometimes you just need your clothes to hug you.
And then the last part of I am just over here getting myself together. Your trainer.
No. No. You can say our, but you definitely brought them into my life.
No, that's what parents do when your kids get on your last nerve. So see, when the child is doing well, you say, my son. Right. Oh, my daughter Zion is so amazing. Blah, 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 blah. My son Ian, he is doing. Oh, have you met my godson Emil? He is doing such a. But then when they do something wrong, you be like, your child.
Yes. And what did your child do?
Your trainer stressing me out over some pictures. Now, mind you, he's not stressed out over the pictures. It was me. I'm the one stressed out.
Right. And he'll make sure you understand that you stressed out about what he asked you to do.
Right. At the last minute in 2 days, but it's got to be perfect. And I'm a Virgo.
God bless us all.
Right. So, not to mention that we have been in hell week for 3 weeks, which you would not understand.
Nope. Y'all, I'm not there yet. And okay, it's step by step. I got my Tuesday and Thursday.
Jennifer, it snowed yesterday. Oh, in Chicago. Listen, a shout out to the north. Wherever it is snowing and it is a tornado, you are the real MVPs. I forgot what city it was, but they were talking about it was snowing and it was a tornado at the same time. We are sending much prayer to you.
I'm sorry, Chicago.
May it warm up and may the force be with you. And when I say the force, I mean the sun. May the sun come out tomorrow, and bet your bottom dollar that. I hope.
I will say this is so nerdy. I'm sorry, y'all, but I'm going to tell y'all this. StreamYard decided to put some new updates in. So look at Jennifer's comment. It's just so small. I'm just going to go back to there we go. We just got to go. They just add in extra stuff and you can't even read that anymore.
No, I don't need the extra. I need all the judge.
All the judge. Ask me how I'm doing.
How are you doing today, Emil?
Feed me attention. Ask me questions.
Yes.
I'm good. Y'all, I'm good. It was a crazy week. Not this week, but just last week was a crazy week. If you don't know, my father and I pivoted again. And so we opened up a restaurant. So we went from My Craft, which was the theater, which should be opening very soon, right? And we pivoted to the restaurant, which was his craft. And so we got a food truck. He's had the food truck for most of the pandemic, but we opened a brick and mortar. And so Things have started to look very well. Me and him have been grinding it out. My brother's here, and my aunt is also helping us. So it's a family business as usual. But we've just been grinding it out, trying to get gigs and make the thing happen how it needs to happen. And things are happening. But that also means when things happen, you don't sleep.
Right.
You gotta make it happen. You gotta be on top of the game. You gotta impress people. So we've been on our toes. And so I apologize again because I just need a break.
So listen, with that being said, that means y'all need to go to my godson's restaurant and check out his food truck. You heard what the man said. He said what he said. And but most importantly, his father can he can cook.
We can throw down. Y'all are truly partners and collaborators. We are truly partners and collaborators. Yes, 100%. I would jump into any venture with him as I would believe and know he would jump in with me. So, y'all lovely in the comments, just talking to each other. Y'all just have a good old time. I love how y'all just say hi to each other, ask each other how we're doing. We're about to get into a topic that I understand to be very important to my dear co-host, Wendy R. Torres. She
wait a minute, time out. He tried to pivot to the topic without giving me a full detail of his check-in. Don't play me.
Okay.
Do not do me, sir. How was your workout this morning, sir? That's what I want to know.
Wendy, you were there. You saw I was starting. Bring food with you. Oh, wait. I'm reading comments without bringing them up. Bring food with you, Emil, when you return. Oh, man. Let me tell you something. Kiji, she's Haitian.
Mm-hmm.
She's from Miami. That queen can throw down in the kitchen. She claims she's not a good cook, but she is a fantastic cook.
Okay.
But I'm going to go back to your check-in. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So this morning, I had my workout. Let's just go back. This morning, I had my workout. It went rather well. I don't have too many complaints. Your trainer is definitely is definitely figuring out everything that I can do, and which is scary. And y'all, let me tell you what happened to me today. Today he had me doing 4 or 5 different arm workouts. And he does not care that my arm gets tired. He wants me to just do all of the workouts back to back. At least that's how I feel. He hasn't said it, but that's how I feel. And what happened to me today confirmed it. So on my second exercise, I told him I was done, and then he went to give me another one, and he told me to do another arm exercise. And he said I rolled my eyes at him when he did the exercise. Ladies and gentlemen, he doubled the size of my weight.
Double.
He doubled it. He was like, "Oh, you wanna roll your eyes? Okay, well here you go." And I felt like a child again, because I sincerely probably was not rolling my eyes at what he said. He sincerely does not care.
Pull the comment up while you talk, sir.
Like,
there you go.
We don't care. The eye rolling necessarily wasn't for him. It was simply for the fact that my arm was tired, and I just was digging in the fact that I got to do some more stuff. But he took that as fits.
Pull up Alyssa's comment too. I would want you to help you out. Yeah.
And so, if you know anything about the arts, right, there used to be this tendency, especially in dance classes, where if you were in pain, they didn't care. And so, point of the matter of all this conversation is, Wendy's trainer does not care how I feel when I go into that gym. And so I leave there knowing that he doesn't care. And bye. That's my check-in.
Right. So I have a little bit of a confession. So your workout went well.
It did go well. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I enjoy it. It's a extremely black gym. I saw my first white lady today in the gym. Okay, that's how extremely white it is. And then they had to make a joke at the fact that she was white. Which if they're making jokes about white people, then it's rare. But it's great. Everyone is super fit, even those who are like getting into shape. What they're doing to get into shape is amazing. I keep saying, like if you are in that gym, you're a warrior. And it is true because the things they make them do, Jesus Christ. I keep segueing, but she doesn't allow me to go into the segue hill. So,
So the reason why I brought it up is because a certain somebody missed their workouts last week.
Yes, I did. 100%.
So,
can we talk about the first?
I have a confession. So we have the Wendy Rants and we have the Sugar Bear Chronicles, but this is a confession. So a certain somebody might have screenshotted all of the text messages about why we didn't go to the gym, and a certain somebody might have sent those text messages to a certain trainer that is 6'4" and 290, and we call the Jolly Green Giant. With a comment that said, "Tear his ass up, coach."
Ladies and gentlemen, if you ever think that they're on your side, I just want to let you know they're not. That's what I want you to know. Wait till you see the things he'll make you do. I'm not looking forward to the things that he's gonna make me do.
Shout out to everybody on here tonight. Oh my God, pretty, thick, fit. Shout out to my girl. Are you still here in the city? I think you're from, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're from North Carolina. She comes all the way to Atlanta to come and train with our Blue Flame with Lola Bear. And my girl is a bad sister. So shout out to her, and always our girl.
Wait, I got a question. This Wendy is me. That mean you be snitching too?
We tell.
Y'all just be telling on each other? That's what we getting at?
Oh, okay. She said I'm from here. Okay. I live in Dallas. Oh, Texas. You come all the way from Texas. Oh, my bad. Wow. Well, thank you so much for coming. Like, you are my energy. Listen, y'all, you all need to surround yourself with people that have positive energy. And that's just the fun of it.
Yeah, hey, Dad. Said, yup. She snitches too. She said, yup.
We snitch. We tell on each other in training and everything. That's why
okay, Wendy, I'm going to stop answering to you. I don't know. I get told on. See, that's why Hill really need to be my friend. I need to be friends with Hill's story because, she'd be like, I got you, but you only got like one more time and then I'm going to beat you behind. And I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. Like a private behind whooping. I don't need a public one.
Right. No, but I'm so happy. Like, I'm just so excited to have you there with me. You all don't understand. Listen, if you don't want to talk about fitness and you don't want to talk about being healthy, and if you don't want to talk about affect fitness, I'm going to tell you right now, this is not the podcast for you. Because those things are going to happen. We're going to talk about mental health. We're going to talk about spiritual health. We're definitely going to talk about physical health. And the green guy is definitely going to be a part of the conversation because he is the bane of our existence. Okay, so now go ahead to your pivot. Turn left.
Okay, pivot, ladies and gentlemen. So as you know, Wendy Torres, a lady of the Lord, an ordained minister, has requested that we have a conversation. Now, listen, this conversation is actually one of the first conversations she said, eventually we're going to do this. And then it just so happened that PBS brought in the material necessary for us to have the conversation that she wanted to talk about. So, ladies and gentlemen, a couple of weeks ago, PBS had a mini documentary called The Black Church, in which it took us through the history of the Black Church in episode 1. And then episode 2, it continued its history to its current date, in which you really dive into what happens after the Civil Rights Movement and what happened in the Civil Rights Movement in relation to religion, social justice, and now social lifestyles.
Yeah.
And so without further ado, I cannot wait to hear these points of view and to poke at this. But let's talk about the Black Church.
Okay, let's talk about it.
So tell me a little bit about the history. Let's just do a really big sweep on episode 1. What is the history in terms of the Black Church in America?
So, I mean, there was a lot of so episode 1 of that documentary was amazing, right? They did a very, very good job of documenting the key points of our struggle concept and our concept of church as African Americans, right? So I don't know if you know this, but the very first church to ever be constructed by African Americans, by slaves, is in Savannah, Georgia. So that's the first thing, right? So you have, oh God, St. James Baptist Church. We'll say it wrong because I didn't study that part, but it's in Savannah. And if you go and you look at the pews, you actually see the tribal markings on the side of those pews of those original slaves. They're still there. And so that is just amazing. And when you think about the church, our story, our legacy and lineage as a people, from coming here, the great diaspora coming here in America to now, it is completely wrapped up in the church. We are a spiritual people. We are a connected people to the Spirit. That is who we are. And so that concept of them talking about even the spirituality of where slaves, they drew their strength to persevere the harshness that they went through of sugarcane fields and different things that happened to them. Just keeping your mindset, thinking about everything we know about trauma today, and that they went through, that the church was their that was their psychological outlet, so that they could actually mentally survive the torture and the torment that they were going through, even down to the fact that as they came. Now, I just need to dispel one concept. So time out before we get into that documentary. I'm going to go in and out of the documentary. I'm just going to talk about what I know. For those people that say that Black Christians, because that's what the church is about, it's talking about the Christian church, the Black Christian church, are worshiping the God of the oppressors like they learned Christianity when they came here to America. So that's a false nomer. Christianity was in Africa before Europeans ever came to Africa, right? So the first actual church is in Ethiopia, in Africa. And so that's a Christian church. The disciples went into the Africa. Christ even went into Africa. His family fled there when he was born, and he was in Africa. He was in Egypt for years. So that concept that Christianity was introduced to Africans by Europeans is a false nomer. Now, they may have been introduced to the King James Christianity. But as far as the concept of Christ, Yahweh, being of the way, that was on the continent way before Europeans, even before the Berlin Conference, where they split up and tried to in colonization. Okay, so that was my little history lesson.
Thank you.
Okay, so I say that so that what the point was, they did an impeccable job about talking about the history of how the Black church is how we survived the oppression, the degradation, and I can't even think of the words. You guys can put them in the chat as you want to. We would not have even survived. I don't believe that we would have survived those conditions had we not had that mental outlet that didn't. So here's the concept. Didn't my Lord deliver Daniel? Why not every man? So you see this concept that God delivered Daniel out of the lion's den. If he can do that for him, then he can do that for us. And that's where the faith of Africans, enslaved Africans, comes in. And then you have this great creation of the Black church, which is very different than the evangelical church. I think they did a great job of talking about some of the first leaders, how the church evolved into what we call liberation theology, bringing that up. So let me explain this concept, because I am what they would call a liberation theologist. Okay. So we believe that you cannot have the same religion as your oppressor, right? So if someone is oppressing you, then we obviously we don't believe the same. And if you pay attention to the construct of what's happening in society right now, it's playing itself out So you have a whole group of people that identify as, they say they're Christians, but all of their actions are oppressive to other people. That's not possible because God was a liberator. If you look at he delivered Daniel out of the lion's den. He delivered Moses. He delivered the Hebrew boys. He did all of these people that he came in and saved them from who? A greater oppressor. So the Black concept, the Black legacy, the Black ideology of Christianity is that God will deliver you from the hands of the oppressor.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll stop right there.
Okay, great. Because with just that little segment, the last segment, we can really look at how there was a lot of conversation in the documentary about the oppressor, right, and the Black church. But specifically, when you look at like the civil rights movement or Jim Crow South,
come on now, yeah,
church was always the leader of it because the clearest example that they use, which makes sense, you know, every time we talk about the civil rights, we often always go to Malcolm and Martin, right? And in this documentary, rather than just putting Martin as like the leader or the spearhead, they really spoke about how this man who was a reverend, who used Christianity to find justice versus using Christianity to spread the word of God and bringing them into the community of religion, right? That Martin's goal was never actually to build his church. It was to fix the community, but he used his Bible as a way to explain the liberation that you're speaking of from the oppressor.
Right.
And so that's a really fascinating concept and construct to look at if you look at the history of what they're saying the Black church is, because we're going to get to mega churches soon because I love to have a conversation about the mega churches. But when you look at the mega churches and how they came to be, many of us could assume that the reason we were going to have mega churches was so that we had larger liberations. And did the liberation actually come when the church got big?
Right. Okay. So you pivoted already. Right. So do you want to go back to, because you pivoted. Like you started here and then you went. So let's go back to your first thought. So what was the first thing you said?
The first thing is talking about Martin and using Christianity as a way now.
Perfect. So if you look at history, so if you have a pen and paper, go ahead and write this down. This one is for free. I'm going to give you a little bit of a revelation that I have not shared many times, but I'm going to go ahead and give it to y'all right here. Mind you, to write this down. Wendy Renee Torres said this. Okay, so if you look at history, you will see that there are 3 specific times that the Black church shifted America. So the first time would be during the First Great Awakening. So the First Great Awakening was this ideology that all men are created equal. Now, even though it was written, so you could even say that the Enlightenment, but it's not called the First Great Awakening. So you have the Enlightenment where Thomas Jefferson goes and pulls from Thomas Paine and says, all men are created equal. And he puts that in writing. Now, at that time, they only saw themselves, white males, as that's who they were talking about. But sometimes, how many of you know, since we're talking about the Black church, let me go there. How many of you know that sometimes the Lord will have you do something and you don't even know what it's going to mean later? So they put in writing, all men are created equal. And then you go into the 1700s, the late 1700s, early 1800s, where people begin to look at that, people call abolitionists. And they begin to look at this concept and they say all men are created equal. Well, if all men are created equal, then it is therefore a sin if I am a Christian and my job is what you have done unto the least of these, you have done also unto me. And then you have these people that you have holding as property who are also calling on the same God that you're calling on. Now you are having a religious, you're in a religious quandary, right? So then you have the raising up of men like Frederick Douglass, who is my hey Angie, who is my favorite American. So this construct that the slave was not articulate, he is not even human, but so that gets flipped on his head, because not only is he can he learn, but this man who couldn't read and write is reading and write and articulate enough to be in front of presidents.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have a movement that shifts this ideology that we should not be, we can't own our brothers and sisters. See, these people call themselves Christians. We can't own them.
Right.
Now I need you to understand something. Each one of those things came in 100-year span.
Mm.
So then the next 100, so that was the 1770s, the Enlightenment, the 1860s and 70s, abolitionists, and then what happens after that? We end up fighting a war over it, right, to end slavery. And then you have 100 years later, what happens? So those people that were identified, that were uneducated, that were not supposed to be able to be learned, who have identified with this Christian ideology, are raised up, and they are the leaders of a movement that says all men are created equal. Let's go to Dr. King's speech where he said that America has written a bad check that has inefficient funds if all men are created equal, right? So now America has to pony up. So you said that we were equal, but we don't have equal rights because of all of these Jim Crow laws that you have put in place. And then you have the Civil Rights Act, the Civil Rights Bill, the Civil Rights Acts that are put in place to undo all of these unjust and unethical laws that have been put in place. And who was the leaders of that? Leaders of the Black church, Black clergy. So in the 1770s, who was the leaders of that? Clergy. Wasn't Blacks, right, at that time. But by the 1840s and 50s, African Americans, leaders in the Black church, those were the ones that were leading and teaching and talking to slaves, and were getting the ears of politicians. And then the same thing in the 1950s and 60s, the Black church. And so here we come now. You know, we're not completely 100 years in, but I just wanted to get your attention to the movement that is happening and the shifting that is happening, again, about the ethicalness. So first we have all men are equal.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have we cannot own people. Then we have some political equaling. Now the shift that you see is an economic shift. And all of that is starting, and all of that is being perpetuated from the church. Faith leaders speak that. So you were talking about the mega church. I can shift into that a little bit. And that is that revolution for African Americans. Creflo Dollar, T.D. Jakes, Bishop Eddie Long, and the late Bishop Eddie Long. You can name some other preachers that people argue about preaching prosperity, but it wasn't just, I submit, it wasn't just preaching prosperity, but for African Americans, this ideology that through faith, he said, I wish that you prosper, even that your soul prosper.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that you prosper, even as your soul prosper. So for so long, what did African Americans say? Oh, Lord, don't move my mountain. Just give me strength enough to climb. No, Lord, I need you to obliterate the mountain. Knock it all the way down. I don't want you to just give me strength to climb the mountain. I want it gone. And on top of that, I need financial wealth. I need financial healing. So that's where we are in the construct today, whether or not you believe in prosperity ministry and all of that stuff. So to segue into what you were saying, because I feel like that's where that whole mega church concept comes from, because those preachers were preaching to middle class, upper middle class, and want to be middle class African Americans about financial prosperity and financial freedom.
Okay. Hill said the church has been used to liberate and justify slavery.
Yes.
And then Jennifer said, come on, my salvation is more than the afterlife.
It is. It is right now.
Whew, okay. So here is my, I wonder if I have a question. I'm just going to bring a comment.
I got hot now. I take my sweat off.
I know it got so hot, and we were just you're fantastic. I'm just going to say it. And I know this is your lane all the way, which is
and
why.
Just say, Pastor Harriman, thank you for being here. Come on and chime in as you want to.
Please, Pastor, please come in. So, can we talk about this? Can we talk about mega churches for a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
So in the documentary, they mention the upbringing of the mega churches. They quote that one of the first ones that America has, it comes out of Chicago. There was a pastor in Chicago who took a church that had 84 members and took it to 8,000 members by hosting communal events such as like learning how to read, resume building, things that would help them in the community. He had this idea that work was how you provided yourself a life, but church was where you found your life.
So let me say that's one part I wanted to bring in. That is the difference that you're going to see about when we're talking about the Black church. A part of our legacy and history is that the church was what was first educating our children. The church was the place where you learned what was going on in the community. The pastor was the one explaining what was going on in Washington and what was happening politically, economically, what was coming through your community. When you went to church, that was the place. So African Americans didn't have social clubs. They didn't have country clubs. They didn't have those things. They went to church. Mm-hmm. And part of the pastor's job for his community was educating and informing his members about what was going on. And so that is the legacy, how that kind of shift. Well, if you ever wonder, why do you always see Black preachers in politics? Because even though church and state is supposed to be separate, but we are a community that's where the people come to get their information. So we have to be able to speak to those things. I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you how to vote. I can't tell you how to spend your money, but I do feel a responsibility to the community I serve to know what's happening in their community and making them aware of it. Does that make sense?
It does. What'd you just say, Hill? The church was one of the only places slaves could convene without white chaperones.
That part.
Yeah, what I was actually thinking was, it's a little bit what Hill was saying, but the idea that like so much of Black life has had to stand for multiple things. Church couldn't just be the place where you practice religion or worked on your relationship with God. It also had to be the place where you got your political information, your financial information, the thing. And so this is another segue, right? But follow me here.
Did I answer? Okay, then.
Because I'm going to take it to the art I'm going to take it to the art side for a second, right? Which is, they were talking so much about music. They spent so much time on the civil rights era, and in it was the civil rights. And the other thing I found fascinating was just talking about music, right? So they talked about going from the record and the upcoming and race records and how gospel music came to be, and from gospel music, what was the relationship between gospel music and the music industry, and what was it like physically in the church.
So you're segueing into episode 2, yes?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so but because you want to go there now?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well then here we go.
I want to get into the robbery.
Here we go.
What I'm segueing into is the beginning of the robbery that has been tracked through the Black church.
Okay.
Which is that the Black church creates this genre of music. We've talked about this multiple times. The only genre ever created on the American land
is slave spirituals.
It's slave spirituals.
Yeah.
Slave spirituals are the root of all American created music.
Write that down. There will be a test at the end of the podcast.
Because that is the case.
Mm-hmm.
They tracked through race records, through the beginning of gospel music, right? When they said it was a 3-minute, the record could only be 3 minutes. And so the preacher or the pastor had to do an intro song, introduce himself, give you the sermon, pray with you, and have a goodbye song, all in 3 minutes. I don't know how they did it. I've never listened to one, but I want to go searching for a record.
Yes, now we got to go find us a race record.
Yeah, I want to find a nice old race record and listen to that, because that just sounds amazing and incredible. But here's the thing. In it, they said one of the reasons why it was so popular, two of the reasons. One, the white man stole our music, had us record it, and then sold it to us, right? So when we talk about why is it that we don't have generational wealth, it's because the white man takes our product and then sells it back to us. And the only way for us to buy more of that product is by giving the dollar bill to the white man, right? So the fun thing about this is tracking, like, oh, look where it actually started, right? So my second thing is to say, and don't leave my thought. Don't leave me. The second thing is to say that with the race record, so they stole the music.
Racial appropriation.
They appropriated it, but then they put it back in the church. So they continue so the race records turned into gospel, right? From it turning into gospel, there was a genre formed, and then all of the music genres stole gospel and used it as a way.
Yeah, so out of slave spirituals, you have gospel music created. So from gospel music, you have bluegrass, you have country, you have blues, you have jazz. All of those forms of music come from from slave spirituals and the gospel. Even rock and roll, all of them have their roots in African music. So our culture, our being, our whole existence. Somebody put her name in the chat, because I'm not going to forget her name. Even the woman whose body they put on display, who's still in a museum. Everything about us is on display and is appropriated for this world. That's why the one thing I don't like, and I think that they talked about in the documentary, was about I was on a podcast, and people were talking about, we're going to go to the Black church so we can, like for observance. We're not for your entertainment. Yes. Yeah. Henrietta, thank you. Everything about us, it has been, observed and taken. That's why the Kardashians stay in so much trouble, even though my personal opinion, I don't know if they mean it that way or not. They just, nevertheless, our culture, and it's always even the surface stuff. You won't even get into the deep culture of who we really are. There's 3 levels of culture. Our hair and all that stuff, that's surface stuff. Get into who we really are, what we really believe, what we really understand, that we know that we are one with God and that we are connected to God. I won't even get into, we're talking about the Black church, but I won't even get into the different religions that have been created out of us, because we understand that we are one with the Creator.
I was about to say, if you ever been to a non-denominational church, white people, it sounds like Black gospel music with no soul. I'm sorry, I said it.
Well, that's what we call that. That's what contemporary Christian music is.
Oh, that's what y'all call it.
But Hill Story brought it up. You talking about music. So our music is based in the drum. Our cultural stance, everything about us is based in the rhythm of a thing. We are a heartbeat. And if America, if you tell the truth politically, economically, we have been the heartbeat of this nation for a very long time, because God created us as a rhythm. We move in rhythm. Come on now. That's why when you see a Black woman walk, everybody go. Mm. Even other black women see a sister walk and say, "You better walk, then, sister. you better walk." I mean, that's why why we even have dance auxiliaries. They don't even have to throw a stand routine. All they got to do is what? Walk.
Wait,
We write a song say walk.
wait. My student was like, "Can I wear Dutch braids?" Google Dutch braids. Child, you mean cornrows?
Wow. Dutch braids. Can we just explain to the people that not only, so that'll be the next, so Hill Story, that needs to be the next whole Black History program. How we always do a Black History program about the origins of Black music. Now we need to do a whole program on the origins of hairstyles and where they come from and the origins of them. And the fact that just because, I mean, Bo Derek put some braids in her hair, she wasn't finding that. You are not, we need to say, stop Christopher Columbusing me.
Yes, because let me tell you something. This is so true. Can we stop renaming things? Like, everything doesn't need a new name. It has its own name. Leave it be, let it be, go on with it. If you don't like it, don't partake. Like, okay, let's get back to the Black church because
but all of that is everything that you all are bringing up is because let's be honest, the Black church, it is the hub, it is the heartbeat, it is of who we are as a people. And I think that I want to, as we segue and shift, bring it up, as I was joking. So you guys, if you saw the pregame when we were on, I was playing Kirk Franklin because I was like, if we're talking about Black church,
yeah, she had Kirk Franklin.
If we pumping for Kirk Franklin, because if we're going to talk about the Black church, then we need to get to the reality of it. Yes, we just did all the glorification, all of those things that we talked about. We are the heartbeat of our salvation as a people, economically and politically. Preachers have been the catalyst, and they still are the ones that are shifting that narrative for us. However, there is this construct in the Black church where we don't tell the truth. Kirk told the whole truth, and that's why we love him. You are right, Angie. We love him, and you're right, Hill Story. He did absolutely nothing wrong. As a Black father in the United States of America with a 32-year-old son, I wish my 22-year-old would disrespect me like that. I would take the whole REV dot on my title and smack it up, flip it. What you did? What? No. You're not going to disrespect me like that. And my children know that. And my kids already said, he ain't doing nothing wrong.
Yeah, I can. But you know what? I do want to say one thing about it. I hear all y'all. I hear everything. I just read all those comments. I put them up. I just have one thing to say.
Okay.
And this is going to be very gender specific.
Mm-hmm.
That son, Kurt's son, felt threatened as a man. He is, I would assume that he believes he has come into his own manhood.
Yes.
And so actually, why I don't think there is anything wrong with that, I can tell you that argument happens with every man and every son and father. There comes to a point where the father talks to the son as if the son is still a kid, and the son says, "I'm not a kid anymore." Okay. And it's not respectful. I don't think it's a respectful moment, because if it is, then then it'll be all peace and dandy. But it really is a striking of the chord between a man and a father. And
I'm going to give you that because Richard Pryor, let me date myself, does an entire bit. He has an entire stand-up about when he argued with his father. Somebody said some daughters too. Lavia says some daughters too. They get disrespectful and have to get completely put together. But I'm going to come back. But he did a whole bit about the time when he told, "I ain't taking no whippings no more," and how his daddy hit, and it's hilarious. So there is a shifting of the guard of being a kid's son to being the father-son relationship shifting to being peers. And in the Black church, I will submit again, in the Black community period, that's difficult because we are very big about respect.
Yes.
But as far as the Black church is concerned, I thought that what happened with Kirk Franklin was so pivotal, because we have had so many people fall away from the church because the church does so much lying. We can come on, church. Y'all talk about liars and all of the other stuff that people do. Y'all lie too much. I need y'all to get that together.
I feel like I need to bring his story on today.
Right.
Little Buddy don't work though, talking about he make beats. Kurt ain't on the ad libs though, so you still on Kurt's dime talking sassy. Yes, you're right. Yes, Hill, you're right. I'm not saying you are wrong at all. I totally 100% agree. I'm just qualifying what that moment was, or what those moments are. That yes, they shouldn't have been shared in a public setting. But we all know that happens with the parents. And they said they were trying. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. When celebrities go like, we've been working, trying to get through, therapy, and it's not. I don't believe none of that junk, because let me tell you something. Don't try to tell me therapy don't work. Okay,
it does. I've been through it. It works.
Yes, and if you got all that money and you can hire a therapist, that therapist is gonna make y'all do the work. So,
unless you're dealing with a person that has a real chemical imbalance issue that you haven't dealt with, and let's talk about that in the Black church. Oh, you want to go there? Okay, let's talk about that in the Black church as well, and the Black community. But I want to read this comment.
Okay, what are the thoughts on the transparency? What goes on in his house stays in his house. Healthy at times, not healthy.
So that is another Black familyism, right? What happens in this house stays in this house. And so when his son recorded the conversation, and then that was a line crossed. It's one thing for you to have a conversation with your father and it can be heated, right? And because you're trying to exert your own manhood against his manhood and what he's saying to you. But it's another thing for you to then, in your pettiness, record the conversation, like Hill's story said, of a man whose dime that you are benefiting from, and then you're going to try to destroy his reputation and his ability to get wealth. And you benefit from that wealth. That says everything to me. But going back to, and she said that group therapy requires cooperation. It does. And so here's a couple of things. So I want to make this segment. I'm going to make this segue, because in the documentary, the second episode of the documentary started talking about the ills of the Black church. And so my issue as a minister is the fact that I deal with so many people that have left the church because of church hurt. We use that term, church hurt. And what does church hurt mean? Y'all just dealing with some crazy folks in the church, and they be lying and they be doing stuff, and preachers be doing stuff to people, and we call it church hurt. That's what it is. So first off, this whole concept and this notion that healing and deliverance is based on your own faith. Well, yes, as a man thinketh, so is he. Like you do play a major part in your life. You do set the trajectory of your life. The way you think, your mindset, and we talked about Shayon earlier. He always talks about it's all mental. Your mental state and the way that you focus does affect how your life goes. Believing that you can be out of the oppression of a thing is major. But this idea that that if you come to the altar and I put my hands on you and lay my hands on you, and I will pray with you, and we call it Terry. I will stay there with you all night and pray over you. And yes, I do believe in the laying on of hands. But the Apostle Matthew Stevenson made an excellent point to me, and I want to share this with you. Let me help y'all. If it took 20 years, if for 20 years you've gotten into this state, If you had an issue, you were abused, you were molested, you got into bankruptcy and financial ruin, and you've been in debt for 20 years, 5 minutes with me at the altar is not going to miraculously change that situation. It might break the stronghold of it off of you. It can break the authority of it off of you, but now you've got to spend time learning a new way of thinking and a new way of being and a new way of operating. And that is not going to happen in 5 minutes in the altar. That is going to happen in therapy. And if I, as a minister, do not have a degree in therapy, I'm not a clinical therapist, how can I walk you through that? That is something that's going to take you weeks and months to walk through.
In fairness, at one point, your pastor was also your therapist.
That is true. And so, but in those times, because that's all we knew. That's all right. That's all. When I say all, that's all any of us knew.
Yes.
Nobody had a degree. We were Africans. We weren't allowed to go to college. What we knew was what we could read, what we could understand. And then we were talking about the Black church, so I'm just going to go there. And the Holy Spirit put some stank on that thing, and you got some freedom from that. Yeah. But he says, get in all thy getting, get what? Understanding. As we know better and do better, we know better. So if I know that I'm getting to a point with you, and when I'm talking to you, your eyes are shifting and you got some stuff going on with you, that you schizophrenic, you bipolar, that's beyond my scope. I need to hand you off to somebody who specializes in that. That's healing. That's deliverance. So I believe that that's an area that the Black church we have grappled with and not done well. We tell people that they aren't better yet because they haven't believed hard enough. So you have the same people coming back to the altar over and over and over again. Like, here come, if you ever seen the Fighting Temptations, like, the joke in the movie is that, can you fall out in the floor somewhere else? Or here she comes to the altar again. Listen, Black people, let me help y'all.
Okay.
You need therapy. We have been a traumatized people. 400 years of oppression, degradation, political, economic. We are Black women. They used our bodies to find out how to do gynecology. We have been physically traumatized. We need therapy. There is not one person. If you are a descendant of the Black diaspora, you need to take to a therapist.
So what?
Matter of fact, let me say this little part. I think that should be part of reparations. We should have that systematic clinical therapy for every African American and their descendants should be it should be a must, and it should be free.
Yeah, we need to have a reparations episode. But my question is, in the 21st century or in year 20,
we didn't talk about women and homosexuals. I didn't know if you wanted to go there, but we left it out.
Oh, you want to talk? We got 6 minutes. We can talk about it. We can talk about
we started late. Oh, we did. Okay.
No, we started late. So we can talk about the hypocrisy of.
So the other part of the Black church that the documentary brought up was, y'all ain't saying much over here. Maybe y'all learning something. I don't know. It brought up how the Black church has oppressed, usury is the best word, usury of women and homosexuals. So that was the second documentary. I was like, ooh, I know these men. I know they 8:30 hot. Listen, y'all, it was so funny to me because all these people are like, oh, watch the documentary. It's amazing. That first episode, the second episode, it was crickets. But it talked about how, Black churches are 90% women. We are the ones that are paying the tithes and financially supporting churches, but there are still churches that refuse to acknowledge women as ministers, as leaders. I worked in a church for 8 years that would never acknowledge my call, and I came to that church with that call. They would allow me to go off and preach, let me take people with me, but never say anything about it. It was ridiculous. And then homosexuals. It talked about homosexuals. It talked about the fact that for decades, people would know that their choir director, their minister of music, the leaders of their music ministry were gay, but as long as they didn't openly talk about it, it was okay. So
Again,
I
keep
just
it
find
in the house and not sharing. Just no transparency. That's the root of it, that the Black church got a problem with transparency in many, many ways.
so many. And then, but at the same time, pastors that are fathering children with their parishioners, having relationships with women. As a preacher, I'm going to say this, and I do not care who gets mad. I have been in the pulpit preaching. I'm at the book board preaching, using my phone as a timer because I was doing the 7 last words, which is about to come up for Easter. I only have 10 minutes. So I have a timer on my phone, and another preacher in the pulpit behind me texts me, "I could F you right now. You are so sexy." I was not dating that person. That was not my husband. And the point was that I was doing what in the moment? I'm trying to help somebody. And that was what they text me. I cannot explain to you the things that I have seen and heard, and which is one of the reasons why I wanted to leave the church and and had to grapple with telling people that I was a preacher because I didn't want anybody to even see me in that context. I just wanted to do the work. I don't want you to look at me as that flighty, flaky person. So I want you to learn my personality first before you judge me because of the things I had seen. We have work to do in the church. Transparency is one of it. We talk about the Catholic Church. The Black church is not far behind. Because somebody said the Vatican.
Yeah, they said the Vatican. I was like, if we start talking about the Catholic, yes, we can have that conversation.
Yes, Tiffany, that happened.
Wow. Okay.
You asked, honey.
I did ask. Here go Hill. I'm gonna fight him, Wendy. Where he at?
I know. Go get him.
Y'all, we really do have some work to do. Look, as usual, we bring a topic to you that starts up a conversation that could really go on for hours at a time or for weeks at a time. But that's our purpose. So now you get the opportunity to pick up the phone, go call somebody, talk to them, go watch the documentary, share your points of view. You can hit us back up, let us know what you think about it. But that is our conversation. There's one more thing I do want to say, and then we're going to go. Which is, in the documentary, they did two things which I thought was great. First thing they did was they identified and gave language to the style of how pastors, preachers speak, the rhythmic musical tone. That was beautiful. The second thing that they did that I thought was great was I saw it and then it was gone. It's not that great because I don't remember it anymore. So forget it. I don't. This was it. The second thing was when they were talking about the records, they were talking about one of the main reasons they loved that the records were great was because people really missed the call and response from being in church. And so a couple of minutes ago, when Wendy called all y'all out for not speaking anymore, she had that moment of feeling like, where's my call and response? I've been preaching this whole time. Like, I'm in service. Y'all are communicating with me, and then y'all stopped. You messed up the flow. And so you out, and then you see what happened. Y'all all came back in, and the flow of it went back for Wendy. So I just want to talk like
that was good. You did good.
I just analyzed and saw it happen in person, and I thought it was great. Ladies and gentlemen, it was so great being back. We adore you and appreciate you. Thank you for sticking in with us. This is the end of the show.
So let me do my little piece. So I want to say, I know it's the end of the show, but I do want to say this for all of you that have left the church because you had stories like that happen. Number one, I want to acknowledge them. They are real. You need to understand that the church is it is a building full of broke people. And when I broken in spirit, mind, and in body, from the head to the bottom, no one is perfect. No one is holy but Christ himself. So do not allow the things that other people have done deter you. You may have left the church, but don't leave God. Do not allow these things that have happened to deter you from a relationship with God, because he will bring you through. I'm a witness to that. So I just wanted to say that piece. And so Heal Story, you need to Heal Story, so you need to bring this back. We do. We need to bring this conversation back. We will bring it back in some type of format. Listen, I could tell you some stories. You would not believe the things that I have seen.
You have a question. Do you want to answer this question?
I will.
Wendy, do you ever get backlash on your title in the church and your choice to be active in the environment at Effect Fitness? What's your take?
So when I first started working out at Effect Fitness, so let me say this part. So when I first started working out at Effect Fitness, one of the things that I did was I would post my workouts on Facebook. I would go live on Facebook. I would post them on Facebook. And I did that for one purpose, because my entire Instagram following and connection is people from my gym and people that work out. It's either former students or people from my gym, my entire Instagram. So when I do things, I need to do it on Facebook, because those are the ones that don't work out. And I'm always thinking about people in the church. We're unhealthy. We don't work out. We eat fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, and mashed potatoes. That is what Baptist Black people eat. And you're dying of high blood pressure, diabetes, hypertension, gout, all of these diseases. And it's all because we're eating. But God said, I wish that you prosper even as your soul prosper and be in good health. So I wanted people to see that I could be 270 pounds. Remember, I weighed 270 pounds when I first started working out. I wanted people to see this preacher working out, doing the things to be healthy. And I kept getting phone calls from my pastor, who is not on social media, because people were calling him, telling me I was over there with my shirt off, and I was over there with no clothes on, and the preacher this, and he just said, just be careful what you're wearing. And so I just told him, I said, I'll just stop posting the workouts. So for all of those people that think that I don't work out anymore, I do. I work out 4 to 5 times a week with the same trainer for the last 2 years. I just don't post it on Facebook anymore. And it's not even because I care about those haters. It's really out of respect for him, so he can stop getting those phone calls. Like literally, he was just getting bombarded by people saying how inappropriate I was because I was showing my body on Facebook. So that's why
this is why we gotta do another episode, because it be the people in the church. Hill, I know you're gonna be with me on this, but it be the people in the church that ruin the church for me. It be the people in the church who act like modern day does not exist, like the everyday okie doke don't exist, like you can't do nothing that's not written. I mean, we're gonna do another episode. And
I wasn't trying to be sexy. I mean, listen, if you've ever seen an Effect Fitness workout, and I'm talking about especially when we're training, there is nothing attractive about it. We look like death, like we're sweating, we're grueling, we're about to die. He's cussing and fussing and in your face. But I weigh 270 pounds. I have had 5 surgeries on this body. They told me I had arthritis in my back and in my knee. And today I squatted 130 pounds. Not only did I squat it one time, I did it 5 times, 15 reps each. That's what this 48-year-old body can do now. The same body that walked up a flight of steps and fell. because I couldn't even walk upstairs. That's deliverance. That is healing. That is what God meant when he said, I want you to have a life and have it more abundantly. And we can't get past the work it takes to get it done. We have Muslim women we work out with, and they have on all their workout, and we just say, you better get it done, girl. I know you're fine under there because you're sweating. You finna be sweating up some, like there's no judgment. I don't even see the body the same. All I see is the muscles that grow. I don't even see any. I am not the same Christian. I am not the same.
But you are supposed to be the same.
All from working out.
If you ain't an evolving Christian, period. If you're not an evolving human of faith, I don't know what you're doing with faith.
Right. Kills me. I love the Lord, but I don't fool with the church because y'all worried about him. Listen, you got to get if Paula White can walk around with a bodycon dress on and 5-inch stilettos, and y'all are paying her thousands of dollars to come preach to y'all finna get this bodycon dress from me too.
Okay. Hello. Okay. Oh,
listen, guys, go and watch the documentary. It is worth it. It is worth it. It is called The Black Church. It is amazing. I don't know where you are in your faith, all of that. I don't know if you've been hurt by people. Just know that we're still doing the work right now. Working with a group of ministers right now that are writing a letter to the governor. Yes, he said Paula White is a bad example. I know, Pastor. I know she is. That was why I was being funny. Paula White is canceled for us. But we are working right now. We are not taking these legislative bills. We're not taking it laying down. Or you want to ask where the church is? No, we are always working for you. So thank you so much for being here with us on this episode of the Mentee Mentor podcast. I am so excited.
Please write the book. Write the book, Jennifer.
No, right. Listen, I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all, I have a book coming out, and guess what the title of it is? Side Chick Syndrome. And it's going to say Reverend Wendy Torres. And with that being said, I'm Wendy Torres.
And I am Emil Thomas.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.